Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
In the dark, behind the walls, but those prison walls cannot stop her from talking, Ghislaine Maxwell. She wasn't discussing prison food or appeals. She was dropping names. One name that sent shockwaves everywhere. Meghan Markle. Yeah, that Meghan. The Duchess turned podcast host turned jam entrepreneur. The woman who spent years crafting this image of victimhood and empowerment. Maxwell allegedly pointed directly at her and claimed there's a document. Not just any document, a CV. But this isn't the kind you submit for acting auditions. This one supposedly outlines a very different chapter of Meghan's life. One involving adult entertainment circles and private arrangements that never made it into any suits behind-the-scenes special. The phrase being whispered, playing the adult game. Vague enough to dodge lawsuits, specific enough to make people's jaws drop. And the wild part, this isn't coming from some conspiracy blogger in their basement. This is Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman who was literally at the center of Jeffrey Epstein's operation. So what's actually in this alleged CV? According to the claims floating around, it paints Meghan's pre-royal years in a completely different light. Less aspiring humanitarian, more high-end socialite navigating some pretty murky waters. The kind of waters where people don't ask too many questions about how you got the invitation. Maxwell supposedly described her as someone who moved through those circles with ease, someone who understood the game. And when you're talking about Epstein's world, the game wasn't exactly wholesome networking events and charity galas. It was power, access, and arrangements that stayed behind closed doors. Now, here's why this lands differently than your average tabloid trash. Maxwell isn't some random person with an axe to grind. She was there. She saw who came and went. She knew the players, the patterns, the people who wanted in on that lifestyle. So when she names Meghan, even from behind bars, people listen. Because if there's smoke, Maxwell knows exactly where the fire was. The defenders jumped in immediately, called it slander, desperation, a pathetic attempt to drag others down. And sure, Maxwell's credibility is shattered, but here's the thing. She has nothing to gain and everything to lose by making this up. She's already convicted, already infamous. So why throw Meghan's name into the mix unless there's something real behind it? But Maxwell's claims aren't happening in a vacuum. Before any of this leaked, there was already legal smoke. Virginia Giuffre's attorney, the lawyer representing one of Epstein's most vocal survivors, wanted to bring Meghan in for a deposition, not as a celebrity cameo, not for publicity, because they believed she had actual knowledge. The attorney didn't mince words. He stated clearly that Meghan knew Virginia personally, that she had first-hand information about what happened in those circles, that she could confirm details about the royals, about Prince Andrew, about the things people saw and did when they thought nobody was watching. This wasn't speculation. This was a legal team building a case and identifying someone they believed could strengthen it. They used specific language. They called Meghan a close companion to Prince Andrew. Not an acquaintance, not someone who shook hands at a charity event once, a close companion. That wording implies familiarity. It implies time spent together. It implies she was in rooms where conversations happened that the public was never meant to hear. And here's what makes it even more damning. The attorney said Meghan could be expected to tell the truth. That phrasing is interesting. Could be expected. Not will definitely, not is known for honesty. Could be expected. Like they knew her track record had some wobbles, but hoped she'd come through under oath. Because let's not pretend Meghan's relationship with truth is spotless. Remember the whole Finding Freedom situation? She swore up and down she had nothing to do with that book. Then court documents revealed she'd been working with the authors behind the scenes, feeding them information, shaping the narrative. She got caught bending the truth under oath. So if she's already done it once, what's stopping her from doing it again when the stakes are infinitely higher? Right when it seemed like things might explode into public view, the justice system slammed the door shut. A U.S. judge denied the request to release Epstein's grand jury transcripts. The official reason? Protecting the safety and privacy of victims. But here's where people start side-eyeing the whole thing. The judge also said there's nothing significant in the files. Nothing that would change the public understanding of the case. Okay, so if there's nothing there, why lock it down like it's nuclear launch codes? Why not just release it?
let people see it's a nothing burger, and move on. Secrecy breeds suspicion. Always has, always will. When you tell people there's nothing to see and then refuse to let them see it, you've basically guaranteed they'll believe the opposite. It's human nature. And in this case, it's especially suspicious because multiple sources had warned Prince Andrew should brace himself for what might come out. Brace yourself. That's not the kind of language you use when files contain nothing important. That's what you say when someone's about to get exposed, when connections are about to go public, when the carefully managed image is about to crack wide open. And if Andrew was in those files, and Meghan was connected to Andrew during that time period, then her name being in the periphery isn't some wild conspiracy theory. It's just logic. She was there. She knew people. She saw things. The question is how much and whether she'll ever admit it. Articles dropped before the judge's decision, warning Andrew to prepare. Journalists don't write headlines like that based on nothing. They write them because sources are whispering, because lawyers are nervous, because people with access to information know something's coming even if the public doesn't get to see it yet. Now here's the part that should bother everyone, regardless of where you stand on Meghan. She hasn't said a single word about any of this. Not one statement, not one carefully worded denial through her PR machine, not even a vague social media post about rising above negativity. Just complete radio silence. Instead, what do we get? Lifestyle brand rollout. Instagram post about her latest venture, American Riviera Orchard, now rebranded as Ever. Beautifully curated photos of overpriced jam jars and artisan candles that smell like Monaco and cost like Manhattan. The whole wholesome Duchess-turned-entrepreneur routine playing out like nothing's happening in the background. That silence is deafening because Meghan has never been shy about clapping back when she feels wronged. She's sued newspapers, she's done tell-all interviews, she's written op-eds, and released statements through lawyers. When the narrative doesn't suit her, she fights it hard. So why not now? Why not come out swinging against Maxwell's allegations? Why not threaten legal action for defamation? Why not have her team issue a blistering denial calling this whole thing baseless, malicious, and an attack on her character? The only reason you stay silent in a situation like this is if you're scared of what comes next. If you deny something and then evidence surfaces proving you lied, you're finished. If you threaten to sue and the other side says, bring it, we'll see you in discovery, you're trapped because discovery means everything comes out. Emails, texts, records, witness statements, everything. Meghan's built her entire post-royal brand on authenticity and transparency. The whole girl boss who tells her truth thing. But how do you sell authenticity when you're being accused of hiding a massive chunk of your past? How do you launch a lifestyle empire based on trust when people are questioning whether you've been honest about anything? And it's not like this is her first credibility hit. The Finding Freedom fiasco already proved she's willing to lie when it suits her. She denied involvement under oath, and the court documents showed otherwise. So when something like this Maxwell situation drops, people aren't giving her the benefit of the doubt anymore. They're assuming there's fire behind the smoke because they've already seen her caught once. Let's talk about the brand for a second. Meghan has spent years positioning herself as this empowered woman who escaped toxic institutions and built something new. The feminist icon who stood up to the palace. The humanitarian who just wants to make the world better through organic tea blends and motivational quotes on linen napkins. But that brand only works if people believe the foundation, if they trust that the person selling them empowerment and authenticity is actually being real. And when allegations surface that maybe, just maybe, there's a whole chapter of her life that involved playing a very different kind of game, the entire thing crumbles. You can't sell wellness and virtue when people are questioning whether you were adjacent to one of the most notorious criminal networks of the last decade. You can't build an empire on girl power vibes when lawyers are saying you had knowledge about powerful men exploiting young women and you said nothing. And here's the brutal truth. People love a redemption story. If Meghan had ever been part of that world and owned it, admitted mistakes, shown growth, people might have forgiven her, might have even respected the honesty. But this isn't that. This is allegedly hiding, rewriting history, and pretending none of it ever happened while building a brand based on transparency. The real danger isn't even the allegations themselves. It's what happens if that supposed CV ever surfaces, if a leak happens, if a whistleblower comes forward, if a court filing forces it into the public record. Because even if the contents are exaggerated or taken out of context, perception is everything in the court of public opinion. Once
the media sinks its teeth into a story like this, it doesn't let go, and no amount of curated Instagram content or influencer partnerships is going to pull it back. The narrative shifts permanently, and for someone whose entire career depends on public perception, that shift is fatal. Meghan's already dealing with a suspicious public. The family fallout with the royals, the estrangement from her own father and half-siblings, the failed podcast venture, the Netflix content that didn't quite land the way they hoped. Every misstep adds up. Every contradiction gets remembered. So when something this explosive drops, it doesn't exist in isolation. It lands on top of everything else, and the pile gets too high to ignore. And then there's Harry, the man who walked away from everything. His family, his country, his royal duties, his military titles. He torched every bridge he had in the name of protecting Meghan from the media, from the institution, from the same forces he claimed destroyed his mother. But what happens when the woman he sacrificed everything for might have walked willingly through the heart of Epstein's network and never mentioned it? When court filings suggest she wasn't just an innocent bystander, but someone with actual knowledge of what happened. When attorneys speak with confidence about her being a close companion to Prince Andrew during those years. That's not a small detail you forget to mention to your husband. That's not something you just leave out of conversation. If Meghan really was in those circles, if she really did know Virginia, if she really could have testified about Andrew's behavior, then Harry deserves to know. And if he didn't know, that's betrayal on a level that doesn't just break trust, it shatters everything. Harry gave up his entire life. And if it turns out Meghan was hiding something this massive, something this connected to the very institution he already despises, the fallout won't just be public, it'll be personal, brutal, and irreparable. The attorney for Virginia Giuffre didn't stutter when he talked about Meghan. He didn't hedge or soften his language. He believed she had valuable testimony, that she could validate what Virginia endured. But she wasn't just some distant name on a list, but someone who saw things firsthand. That kind of legal certainty doesn't come from rumors. It comes from evidence, from interviews and emails and witness reports, from building a case and identifying people who can actually move the needle. And they thought Meghan could. That alone tells you everything. So here we are, Ghislaine Maxwell allegedly naming Meghan from prison, a supposed CV document floating out there, contents unknown but damaging enough to cause panic, Virginia Giuffre's attorney on record saying Meghan had knowledge and could testify, a judge sealing files while insisting there's nothing important inside, and Meghan herself completely silent, pushing lifestyle products like none of this is happening. This story isn't going away. It's not one of those tabloid rumors that fades after a week. It's got legs because it's got legal teeth. Because real attorneys in real cases wanted real testimony. Because Maxwell, for all her destroyed credibility, was actually there and actually knows things. The clock is ticking. Either that document surfaces or it doesn't. Either Meghan breaks her silence or she doesn't. Either the sealed files eventually leak or they stay buried forever. But the questions aren't disappearing. And every day she stays quiet, more people assume the worst. Because in the court of public opinion, silence isn't neutral. It's damning. And for someone who built her entire post-royal identity on speaking her truth and demanding to be heard, choosing silence now says more than any interview ever could. The vault is locked, but vaults don't stay locked forever. Someone always has a key. Someone always talks. And when they do, the fallout won't just be a PR problem. It'll be the end of everything Meghan has tried to build. So here's what I want to know. Do you think Meghan knew exactly what was happening, or was she just in the wrong circles at the wrong time? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you think the story is bigger than people realize, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to see it.